Welcome to the Lightning Out the Bottle podcast. I am your host, Mr. Leach, and we're talking all Chargers all the time. Where we at, where we trying to get into, how we can improve. This is your number one destination. So go ahead and like, follow, subscribe so you can get the latest on the new mock drafts. And that's what we're going to be doing today. One of my good mock drafts. I want y'all to look at it, tell me what y'all think. I'm going to break down each pick, what happened. So in this draft, we decided to not stand pat. We went ahead and traded out of that 22 pick. So that's assuming that we would release Bosa, right? And Jesus, that hurts to let go of Joy. We all love Joy, man. He was a good Charger for a long time. Unfortunately, injuries just took him, and he wasn't able to perform. Definitely not worth 36 million. Now somebody did say there was hope and said we would re-sign him. So we'll see if we bring him back at a good number for a couple of years, so he can retire as a Charger as like a third, fourth option. I don't think I would be too opposed with that as long as we could have the players in place. He didn't have to play, but he could play when he wanted to. Hopefully we acquire maybe DK Metcalf in the trade or Devontae Adams. Maybe we sign him. That would be great. We released Trey Pipkins. That'll give us close to 100 mil, with him and Bosa being gone. Grab a quarterback in this free agency. There's a lot of corners in this free agency that we can sign. So we don't necessarily have to draft a corner. We could pick up, some good corners in this free agency at a low price. We don't have to spend a ton of money. Also, there's a lot of wide receivers available, so we don't have to go into the draft looking for either one of those positions. We could grab players at both of those positions very easily before we go into the draft, and then we're not worried about it. Also with offensive linemen too, but we do want to draft some offensive linemen so we could have a young team that builds continuity, with Slater being the oldest and, Joe Alt the second, and then whoever else comes, right? So we want to fill that interior three with some young guys that can actually stay on the roster for a while and complement Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. That would be perfect, and maybe bring in a veteran linebacker to coach up Deion Henley and Junior Colson, because I don't think Colson's ready just yet. So just have somebody who can actually bring him up to speed, a veteran, that could pour into him and really develop him. Depending on what they do, with Denzel. If they keep Denzel, then maybe not, but we'll see. And Bobby Wagner's a stud, so he's going to be a stud till he decides to hang it up. So I wouldn't mind giving him a year contract, 1 year, $4 or $5 million, $6 million. I would not be opposed to that whatsoever. 2 years, 12, so he can retire, with an opt-out option. So, that would be a great deal to bring him in. I would love to bring in a Bobby Wagner type. They could just bring out the best in those two young guys, right? That would be great. And it may be like a Josh Sweat on the D line. We get us an edge rusher, right? We get Josh Sweat, we bring him in. Then we're not in dire need to get an edge, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Khalil Mack. We'll see. We'll see if he be signed. Hopefully he does. That would be great to bring him back in and bring in somebody that would help him, right? And draft a young guy. Watch Thule blossom. We still got Bud Dupree. I'm not opposed to having five edge rushers. 6 if we can get away with it. I'm trying to get to the quarterback, baby. Right? So I'm not worried about that at all. If we can get away with having more edge rushers, the more the merrier. Guys that can get after the quarterback, I'm all for it. Guys that can intercept the ball and guys that can get after the quarterback, I'm all for it. If you show me you can do that, then I'm all for signing you. Right? Maybe maybe sign a Chase Claypool. Sorry about that. And yeah, that's a guy somebody threw away. Right? They don't think much of him. Maybe we could steal him on a deal because he has talent. He's always had talent. I just don't think he's been in the right situation. And I think the way that the Chargers are bringing players back to, former glory, they're having a resurgence under that Jesse Minter defense. Now Harbaugh-isms are getting into him. So I think Chase Claypool could come back, make a good return. That would be great. If we can get somebody like him. That's a first round talent, And he can anchor a defense if we get him in the right position. We get him in the right mind state. He could really get things going and become a wrecking ball. So that would be great, right? So like I said, we want to get some interior offensive alignment too. If we can get some in the free agency, that would be fantastic. We really don't want to go into the draft needing anything, desperate for anything. That way, that'll give us the most opportunities to maneuver, right? That'll allow us to, go ahead and do the things that we want to do the way we want to do them, right? You give Joe Ortiz the opportunity to pick and choose what he wants to actually do. So, that's what we want to do. So in this draft, we traded the 22nd pick, traded the 22nd pick, went ahead and got 3 picks back for it. We got a 43rd, a 75th, and a 99. So we got a second round and 2/3 for the 22nd pick. And we also got a pick next year. And we got 2 of those in the 3rd round. So the 3rd round picks are great. They gave us 3 picks total in the 3rd round and 2 picks in the 2nd round. So instead of having 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we had no 1st, 2 seconds, and 3/3. So that's how we started it off. So that was the goal, to get us an extra pick. We ended up getting an extra 2 picks. This draft isn't so spectacular that we absolutely needed to get the 1st pick. Or use that 1st pick at all. There's so much depth all through the later rounds that it's worth more to pick those in those rounds than it is to pick in the 1st round, because you can get 3 extra players in the 3rd and 4th round that are just as good as the 1st round guys in this draft. So there's no need to draft in the 1st round. So with that 1st pick that we got, we traded all the way back to 43. So we picked 43. We picked Kenneth Grant. He's out of Michigan, a 6'4", 331-pound junior. He's a hardball guy. He's a true nose tackle, D tackle. The guy's a beast in the middle, clogging up the lanes. He had 32 tackles. 18 of those were solo tackles, 3 sacks, from the D tackle position. He ran the sub 540. Right? A 6'4", 331-pound guy running the sub 540. Think that, take that in. He's an athletic freak. He's a solid, powerful kid. He has great play recognition. He's a disruptive force. The man has great moves, right? So in the pass rush, he gets after it. He spins. He comes under. He has, he knocks down passes. He forces fumbles. This is a athletic freak. He's a hardball guy. I think if he's sitting there, they definitely take him, because we do need to, even if we do resign Puna and Tir, we still need a young guy in that middle. So we're going to go with Kenneth Grant at number 43. Okay. He also needs to learn to be consistent, right? He needs to get better at moving side to side, right? He needs to be in the training room with Ben Herbert ASAP. He needs to get bigger. He needs to get stronger. He needs to get more powerful, so bigger linemen like Joe Alton them can't push him off of his spot, right? So he's going to be able to, he's going to also need strength so he can maintain leverage throughout, and he can get into that pocket, break it down, and keep it contained. Whatever he needs to do to set the edge, right? So that's what we got. Ben Herbert. Ben Herbert's going to help a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys need strength coming from college to pros. It's just it's just what it is. So that's no knock on him. All right, for the 55 pick, this guy slipped. I don't see there's a way that he slips, but he slipped at 55. It was Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. 6'6", 312. He plays tackle, center, and guard. I mean, the kid plays all over the field. He's just vicious, right? He seals blocks. He has great vision. I mean, he knows when and where to get to the box. He plays above the line. He is the type of player that can change your offensive line, right? You put him at center, I think, on this Chargers team. I think he has the vision that he could call out stunts, blitzes, and he could pick things up. And I think he would be a solid contributor to this team. I mean, everybody thinks that. So I don't think that he actually slips to 55, right? But if he did, that would be a great pickup with us. So we got him at 55. He needs to work on building his base. Get a little bit stronger in his leg game, right? A lot of times he gets knocked off balance and he starts to grab it instead of punching. So that could lead to penalties, especially in the NFL where they know how to sell those penalties. Dealing with those just clever veteran guys, they'll get you on that. So he has to get a lot stronger and a lot faster so he can actually punch hard instead of grabbing at the defenders that he's trying to block. And he needs to work on his hand placement. That'll help him a lot with that. So that's just something that he has to work on coming in. But I mean, he's a great prospect, and obviously he would be a steal for us to get at 55. Everybody knows that, but still, it would be fantastic. All right, now at number 75, we got Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina State, 6'4", 254-pound edge. I mean, 11 and a half sacks, 28 tackles, right? 20 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 4.740, right? He has a 1.63 10-yard split. He did 23 reps on the bench press, right? He's a monster, right? This guy is a big, long body, right? He just needs to add muscle to his frame, right? But he has great timing. He turns corners well. Using he knows how to get under linemen, right? He has great hand usage when he does. He knocks down. Great lateral movements. Man, he's vicious, bro. He's vicious. Strikes well. He has good hands when he hits too, right? When you land the hit on the defender or on the offensive lineman, right, and you can get him moving back. He does that very, very well, right? He needs to develop a couple of more moves. He definitely needs to get a couple of more moves in there, but he has enough to where he could come in and be a solid contributor. Running downs, no, maybe not. Yeah, I wouldn't say, but passing downs, he definitely could come in, get after a quarterback, rotating in him. With Thule, Mac, Bud Dupree. You could throw this kid in there, and he would be a great help. He gets after. He's fast. He's crafty, so that would be a great pickup at 75, right? Kyle Kennard. At 86, we were able to get Gunnar Helm out of Texas, the 6'5", 241-pound tight end. He runs a 4.8 40, so he's not a faster tight end, but he is a great blocking tight end with natural hands, very soft. The guy catches almost everything that you throw in his direction. He knows how to find soft spots in the zone. I mean, he would be great for Justin Herbert. Right, he's not the type of burner type of tight end that you're gonna look for. He's a guy that can pass and he can block. So you don't know what we're gonna call when he's on the field because he can do either one. And that's the thing about tight ends is that if you can't run block, then the defense knows that this is definitely not going to be a run. It's going to be a pass, so they can lock in on you, right? But if you can do both, it throws the defense off. It's basically like having an all-time play action on the field, right? Because that's what a tight end is. You can't read the tight end for what it's going to be because you don't know if he's going to be passing or blocking out of the same set too. So, right, that's going to be a great upside for him. So that's what you lose when you take speed and you substitute it for something else of value, right? You get a guy who he may not be the fastest, but he can catch that 10, 12 yards. He can get past defender. He's extremely crafty in the open field. He can get past defenders. He'll hurdle defenders. The guy, he may not be fast getting there, but he is very strong runner when he gets the ball, right? So I think he's a very underrated player right now, and I think we could steal him at pick 86. If he's there, we got to go get him because we definitely need to get a tight end, and this guy would help a lot. He's what we wanted Will Dissly to be. He's like Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst combined because he can catch and pass. So that's what you get in one. And then we can keep Will Dissly, throw him in there. He can block. He got some experience catching the ball last year, so he'll be better, I think. He still never be a receiving tight end, but I think he's better ready for bigger moments now. So I do like that. So we get another young guy in here, and that would be perfect. That would be perfect, right? That's what we want to do for him, for Justin Herbert. We want to get him the weapons that he needs to get the job done. That being said, at number 99, we got a fan favorite, Cam Skattebo out of Arizona State, the 5'10", 219-pound running back. He ran for 1,711 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 21 touchdowns, 45 receptions, 605 yards on those receptions. The boy is a monster. Dual threat. He will drop the football though. He will drop the football. That's a big red flag with Skattebo. But he runs hard. He runs through tackles. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Every play he's giving you all he's got. He does need to work on going side to side more or less, I should say, and trying to get north and south more. That I would say that he needs to do. He does lose himself behind blocks trying to get to the outside when he can just go north or south, right? So I would say that he does need to do that more, but he's fantastic in short yardage situation. He has great side-to-side agility too. And just the fact that you have great hands out of the backfield, that would be great for Justin Herbert because you can catch dump offs. And, when Jason Justin's in trouble, He can get the ball to somebody. You can run effective screens, right? You can have him run out right behind the defensive line, dump off right there, 2-3 yards up the field. There's so much that opens up when you have a dual threat running back. There's so many options in the playbook that you can now use because you have that player on the field. And then you have the same with a tight end that's both a running and catching, or a blocking and catching threat. Then yeah, now we're cooking with grease. Justin got stuff that he can hide, right? It's less predictable because you just don't know what these weapons are going to do. So I would love to see Cam Scatterboo at 99, right? He needs to work on his pass blocking because he's almost terrible at it. He needs to do that. He definitely needs to work on his pass blocking, right? He needs to take care of them happy feet he got because, like I said, right, he tries to go side to side a little bit too much when he should just go north and south. So that's something I think coaching will really help him with, is teaching him, okay, it's okay to hit that hole and go straight. You don't got to always get to the outside. You don't always got to bounce to the outside. Sometimes the shortest distance to a point is a straight line. You see what I'm saying? So that's what you need to do. He needs to work on just getting his feet together to stay still. That's really all it is. Right now, after that, we drafted at number 159. Man, one of my personal favorites, Luke Kandra, out of Cincinnati. He's a 6'5", 319-pound guard, 33 reps on the bench press. This guy is one of the best blockers in the draft. He's fantastic. I mean, this guy is violent when he's finishing. He gets to the second level and knock you around. He's just a nasty, nasty offensive lineman that you just gotta have on your team. He's one of those guys you gotta have on your team. I mean, he does a lot well. He has great hands. He has great strong hands. He has good hand placement for the most part. I mean, he rarely misses a block. When he doesn't have somebody to block, he's looking for somebody to block, and that's what you need in your lineman. Looking for somebody to go eat, go get him, right? You got to eat up all the space you can as a lineman, and this guy is looking to eat up space, right? And if you can find a guy like that at 159, you immediately draft him. That fills a big hole for the next. He's the type of guy that if you give him a year or two to get his technique down, get his strength up, right, and catch up to the game, he will be a 10-year guard. I really believe that. If we can get a guy like that, that's why I'm saying we need to get somebody in free agency that can start for the next year, maybe two. And while this kid develops, if we get, or a young guard develops, and then he could actually turn into somebody that's a 8 to 10 year player, right? He has the size, and he's a little bit lighter than a lot of linemen, but he still has the skill and the strength to balance that out. So he can't get beat by faster linemen. That's any player. You can get beat by a faster player, but it is what it is. But he does need to work on his technique, so when he's going against crafty players, he's not getting beat, to the outside. So that's something that he needs to work on. But I mean, still, at pick 159, that's a great guy to have on your team, and that's the guy that can anchor your line for years to come. Anytime you can get a player that can anchor a position for 8 to 10 years, for a decade, you have to get that guy. So after that, we stayed with the line because we really wanted to give Justin Herbert some protection. We even got at 177 Jake Majors out of Texas, 6'3", 306 center. He's a center guard. He'll probably play center if he's drafted into the NFL. He's a 5'2", 40, which is ridiculous. But this kid is an elite pass blocker. I'm not going to lie. This guy is an elite pass blocker. He's extremely consistent, right? He has high pro techniques already, right? He plays like he's been in the pros already. I mean, he had a couple of mistakes at the combine, but he is a very, very, very consistent player, right? He has great pre-snap vision. He's great at picking up blitzes and stunts, right? He has great knee bend. He has great pad level. He has good poise. He keeps technique through blitzes. He doesn't get thrown off of his square very much at all, right? He doesn't have great finish, though, when he gets up to the second level. So, it's easier for faster and craftier linebackers to get out under his blocks, so he doesn't hold on to those for very long, right? So, and if he gets caught pulling in the open, he can actually get abused. So you got to watch for that too. So, but other than that, I mean, at 177, those are things that can get coached. I'm not really concerned about those things at all. Again, a year or two under, in the same, you build this squad with these guys, and in a year or two, these guys are a tandem or a trifecta that is added on to the other two that we got, the bookends that we got, right? So that'll be a full, complete line that we draft. So that would be great. Now at 183, we went defense with Ted Buchanan, the 6'2", 233 linebacker out of Cal. He had 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, right? He had 45 solo tackles. He had 4, 6, 40. So he's not the fastest, but he is not the slowest at all. He's a great cover linebacker. He does need to add some size, though. He definitely needs to add some size so he can deal with these running backs in the NFL. He and these offensive linemen that are going to be coming at him. So he does. I would say he probably needs to put on about 10, 15 pounds. And but he's a great tackler, short tackler. The kid is vicious, right? Right, he can develop into a blitzing linebacker into the NFL almost immediately. He's consistent, he's dependable, he wraps up, he drives through his contact, he's great against the run, he keeps his gap integrity. The guy he's very on point. He's a football player, right? This is one of them guys that, his intangibles are football player. And you need those guys in your locker room. Even if that guy isn't starting, that guy, you add a guy like this to your locker room who's just a workhorse, right, that goes after it and gets it and comes in every day and works hard, right? This is what you want to do. This is what you want to have as a player like this. He does need to get strength. Like I said before, all these kids coming into the NFL are going to need to get stronger. That's not, there's very few that are strong enough to come into the NFL and just dominate, right? It doesn't, that's a rarity. So, expect that. That's why we have a Ben Herbert. That's why we have the Bolt, so that we can put these guys through the machine, let them come out charged up, right? And that's what I would do with this guy. He's that's his biggest weakness, is he's not strong enough. He's not big enough, right? So if you add about 10, 15 pounds of muscle to this kid, I think this kid will hit the league by storm, right? And we have a young Tuli Tuialoba. I don't want to call him young Tuli because he's not a linebacker like Tuli. Tuli's a different kind of linebacker. He's a beast. We got to just unleash him. That's what we really got to do. We got to unleash him. All right, after that, though, at pick 215, we were able to get Jalen Conyers, the Texas Tech tight end, 6'4", 260 pounds. He had 25 catches for 271 yards. He had 5 touchdowns, right? He had 10.8 per catch. He runs a 4.7 40, right? He runs a 1.62 10-yard split. Right, he has a 35-inch vertical and a 10-foot broad jump. Jalen Conyers is actually one of my favorite players in this draft. You'll see me drafting him a lot. He's a universal tool. He plays a tight end, but he can be a tight end, a wide receiver, a running back, and he can throw the ball out of the backfield. This is a one-stop shop type of player. He's a 4-level tool, right? That's what he is. He's vicious. This is a kid that you can get and use him as a secret weapon for all kind of plays in your playbook. The only thing I fear is if whoever gets this kid, if it isn't us, will not be able to use him correctly because they don't have the creativity in their offense to use this guy correctly. This is the type of player that I would say Shanahan would be after. Sean McVay would probably be after him. I don't know if Greg Roman would be after him, but those are the type of guys that you would see that would be after this type of player because you can use him in so many facets. Especially since the Niners just traded away Deebo Samuels, they would immediately pick this kid. Right, this kid right here, if we could get him, could become a star in this league inside of 1 or 2 years because he can just do too much. When you're that valuable at that many positions, then you make yourself useful on the team. Some team is always going to want you. So I would love to see them bring this kid in and use him in all different offensive schemes. Place him around sometimes in the slot, throw him out wide, put him in running back, maybe in a wildcat. This, and he could throw the ball. It's just too many. There's too many availability or too many opportunities of things you could do with this kid on your team. So I would love to draft that kid at 215. At 220, we picked Tyler Batty out of Brigham Young University. 6'6", 271-pound defensive end, edge rushing type of player. He only had 1.5 sacks, but he had 59 tackles. 33 of those were solos. He runs a 4.7 40. Now, the only drawback to this guy is that he's 25 years old. Other than that, he's a lunch pail type of guy, hard worker, nose to the grind. He's a hardball guy. This guy right here is the definition of competitors welcome. Okay, so this is a guy also who can anchor that line, that defensive line for 10 years. This kid just comes to work. He gets things done. He's not the best. He's not the worst. He comes to work. He gets it done. Right? And these are the type of guys that you build championships around. It's these guys. It's not the big name star that you spend $30 million on. You know, the quarterback that you sign out of free agency, $50 million. That never is these guys. There's the guy that gets up, comes to work, does his job well, and pushes other guys. And when they need him to come in, he comes in and he does his job thoroughly. These are the guys, right? This is the guy that you want. And at 220, 7th round pick, you didn't lose anything getting this kid, right? This guy right here is going to be one of the best players in the league that you don't know about. I promise you. He comes to work, he works hard. He's already a grown man. He's 25 years old, right? So he's already old enough to understand what the business is. He realizes he has a limited time, 5 to 6 years, to maximize his money, maximize his opportunities. So this kid will be a guy that comes and has instant maturity where you would normally draft somebody and you still would have to worry about maturity. So now you have 3 years of extra college on your as far as age. But he took a 2-year. I'm not sure what they do. I can't remember what it's called. Please forgive me. But he took 2 years off, and a mission, I think it's called, and he did that. So he's a very mature young kid, right? Very respectful. Brigham Young, they put out workers. They put out people that come in, they understand the value of putting in the hard days worth of work. So that would be a great, great pick for me. I would love to pick him, right? I would love to pick that guy, especially in the 7th round. You're kidding me. You know what I mean? I would pick him if I could earlier than that, but I had other guys to pick, so I did not. Right? Now, we got 253, the 253rd pick, the comp pick. With this pick, I took Andrew Armstrong, wide receiver out of Arkansas. 6'4", 202 pounds, runs a 4.5 40. Okay? He has 78 receptions, 1,140 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.6 yards per carry, or per catch, I should say. Right? So the kid is he's vicious, right? He's vicious. He's a workhorse wide receiver. This kid's being slept on because he only scored 1 touchdown. I promise you that's the reason. If he'd had 8 or 9 touchdowns, he'd probably be one of the top wide receivers in the country. Right? So that goes to Arkansas's passing offense, I think, more than it does to him. He should be a red zone threat, but he isn't. So that means, to me, he's not being schemed up properly and put in the right place. For him to be that productive all over the field except the red zone, that's screaming scheme to me. So at 6'4", 202 pounds, right, he's brilliant in getting open in zones. He's brilliant in getting open in zones. He finds soft spots. He catches the ball. He constantly moving the chains. Like, this guy is constantly moving the chains, right? So when you get you have a guy like Ladd McConkey on your team, you sign one of those big names, say you get DK Metcalf, he can take the top off, and then you got a guy like this who catches every single thing that you throw at him, and he moves the chain, and he's in the SEC. This kid is dominating in the middle of the field. In the middle of the field of the SEC, he's dominating, right? That's a very, very, very big statement. To be in the SEC and dominating is one thing. To be in the SEC and to be a wide receiver and to be dominating over the middle is a completely different level of baller, right? And this is what you want on your team. This is the type of guy that comes in handy when you need a first down no matter what. This is him. So now you got him, Ladd, and whoever else you get. You got 2 sure-handed, great route running, guys who love to work the middle, that can switch off from the slot to outside, interchangeable, right? And whoever you have on the other side, you can tell them go, right? But these 2 guys can work the inside, outside of the middle of the field, runs every route, right? He doesn't need to work on some of the techniques in his routes, but he runs every route. So he can get open wherever you need him to get open. He can find soft spots in the offense. This guy, with his big body, we can make him a red zone threat. I think if Greg Roman could scheme him up properly and he make him into, draw up some plays for him in that red zone, 20 and under, he could become a red zone threat because he just catches too well. He's too productive all over the field. You can say, oh, all of a sudden when he gets to the end zone, he can't catch the ball. He's not dropping the ball near the end zone. He's just not getting the opportunities near the end zone. So I would definitely take a flyer on this kid just to make sure nobody else could grab him as an undrafted free agent. Right at 253, we definitely would. I definitely would do that pick. That's a comp pick anyway. So you get a young kid like that, and you could develop him. He doesn't even need a ton of development. I mean, he needs to get stronger like everybody else, so he can beat the press off the line. But again, they'll come in, they'll get into the off-season training, and then they'll beef up, and they'll be ready to play in a year or two. Right? That's the hopes for every draft pick. That's what you hope you get in every draft pick. So that's what we'd be hoping we get with this kid. But yeah, so that is the draft, the mock draft for today. I hope you guys like it. Tell me what you did like, what you didn't like. Tell me where I can improve, what you think you would have drafted if you would have drafted different positions. Whatever you want to say, man, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. See you guys on the next one.